Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this is our second or third Agentic exploration. Joining me today, I have the one and only Daniel. Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself? How's the day going?
The day is going awesome. I'm very excited to be here and talking about some of the models that I love the most. So I'm
Mhm.
happy to get this kick started.
Yeah, no, totally. We've been like a huge fans of at least I've been a huge fan of Gemini for the past few days. But most importantly, we have a great guest today, Paige Bailey from the Google DeepMind team. How you doing?
Pretty good, and it's so good to see y'all. I'm also excited to hear what y'all have been building with Gemini 3 and with Nano Banana, and if you have any feature requests or if the audience has any feature requests. So it's definitely been a jam-packed last couple of weeks. Excited to talk more about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. We know that releasing a model and then releasing not only one model but two of them must be a lot of work. And then having a ton of conference happening at the same time, engineering in New York City. There's been a couple here in San Francisco as well. Must have been a jam-packed agenda. But to add here, we have some people here in chat. So hey, everyone here who's joining, and let us know like if you have any questions about like Gemini or any questions that you would like to bring to build like Klein or to the Google DeepMind team. We're here to essentially get and cover those questions that you might have. And before we start, just like tell us how has this like couple of days been for you? Like you've been running a ton of demos from what I can see on Twitter. You've been doing all of these different kind of like pieces of content. How has this been for you and the team on releasing this model?
Wow. So it's definitely been a whirlwind. I think that this is also the first time that when a model has released, we've had it kind of percolated all over the Google ecosystem. So not only was it in AI Studio and the Gemini APIs, it was also in the Vertex AI APIs, it was in the Gemini app. It was in Gemini CLI, and then also Jules just recently added it as well, and a couple of other things like Android Studio. So we've got a lot of different places that Gemini 3 is popping up. And this was, the cumulative work of tens of thousands of Googlers all over the company to get this model and Nano Banana up and running. So I think everybody is really jazzed and excited about what people have been building with it. And also all of the Google MKs have just like bananas all over the place, like paper bananas, banana streamers, banana banners. It's just felt a lot. It's felt a lot like Christmas, honestly.
More banana themed, though, I would imagine.
Yeah, banana Christmas maybe. Like it's been very good.
I wonder if there's like a holiday like that in some sort of country, just like bananas everywhere. Um, I wonder, like specifically with the model, it's been like super fast how these models have evolved, right? I think like 7 months ago we had Gemini 2.5, and then like 7 months later we have like Gemini 3.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about like why do we need like a whole new like entire unit here for Gemini 3? Tell us more about like what's changed and what is new in Gemini 3.
Yeah, so actually let me pull up really quick. Like this might be helpful to share. I've got a little bit of a slide deck, but I'm a little bit also allergic to slides. And so I will only show the ones that are interesting, and then like I think we all promised to do demos. So there will be demos following.
Yeah.
This might
I love
be
demos.
I also adore demos. I think they are
I can
the best way to like understand the model capabilities. But this is just kind of the all of the different models that have been released over the course of the last while. So it's only up to May of 2025, but there are still quite a few. And then Gemini 3, we already mentioned that it's kind of put in all of the Google products. But I think each one of the three models had kind of a different kind of mode of interaction, right? Like the first Gemini model was really good at understanding all of the data types. So it was really good at understanding video data, image data, audio, text, and code. It was multimodal from kind of t equals 0. And it was able to analyze, summarize, transcribe, like all of that goodness for the data sets that it had access to. Gemini 2 was all about thinking. So being able to have these like thinking traces, being able to reason and plan about different concepts. And then Gemini 3 is all about improving tools use, function calling, taking action, and getting much, much better at generating code, not just for these very, very complex applications and games, but also being able to sort of create agents more effectively. Like the websites that have been designed are much more beautifully designed. So those kinds of things, and that's kind of the purpose of Gemini 3. And it's been doing pretty well on benchmarks as well. If y'all are curious about benchmarks and those kinds of things.
I guess, how do you actually get it to be better at doing actions? Because I've had the same
Yeah.
experience. I did a side-by-side pretty early on, like on Tuesday, right when it came out. And I found that it was really good at actually executing on the tasks I was asking it to do. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious how your team thought about teaching it the ability to do a task, because I think that's been a big challenge for all the model providers.
Yeah, so excellent question. And this was the result of a lot of work across the pre-training and post-training teams. The way that the models get better at being able to perform these kinds of actions are by kind of seeing a lot of those kind of data. So as an example for tools use, like getting traces of, successfully invoking tools, using the tools to accomplish an action, and then achieving the final outcome. So getting lots and lots of those kinds of examples in both pre-training and post-training, but especially in post-training, has been really helpful. I think many of the models often still get confused by having dozens of tools to select from. So helping models understand which tools to select from and why. Even building kind of a directory of tools and examples of when they might be invoked. And then I think there's also, though this is still using the Gemini 2.5 model, at least for the next little bit, have y'all seen the computer use API?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
No.
interesting. So this is something that I will share as well. And I'll also add a link in the chat so you can go play with it if you would like. But we just recently released something called the Computer Use API for Gemini, which allows it to do a few different things. So what's happening kind of behind the scenes, and I'm presenting a screen really quick.
Yeah. There you
Yep.
go.
Yep. So what happens behind the scenes is Gemini kind of takes a screenshot, draws bounding boxes around the things that it might need to interact with. It develops a plan, and then it figures out what kinds of actions it should take on the screenshot. So should I click? Should I click and drag? Should I click and start typing things, etc. But we can see that in action. So as an example, if I said something like, find me a pair of blue Merrill hiking boots that are cute, women's size 8, and that are on sale, and hit run, what should happen is that Gemini, and I'm going to put up my hands so people can see that I'm not clicking anything. But what happens is like Gemini kind of opens up a web browser. It sort of figures out that it needs to be typing for things. So it turns my question into a search. It types the text. You can also see kind of the tool call associated. So where it clicked, whether it pressed enter, those sorts of things. It should be searching now for since the user asked for blue boots, I should click the navy blue filter. And then it figures out what it should do for each incremental step as it's attempting to reason through and solve the question that I had asked for. So you can see that it's looking for sales or price drops. It's reasoning. It found a few different options. And quite blue and relatively sleek. And then it completed the task. And so and gave me the recommended pair of boots to buy. But this is available for you to use as part of your own applications. As I mentioned, it's built right now on the Gemini 2.5 model, so the computer use preview model. And it has a bunch of interesting sort of actions that it can complete. There should be a table down here towards the bottom. But it's like open web browser, waiting, going back, going forward, searching, navigating, clicking, hovering, all of those good things.
Great.
So this is especially interesting to me because I've had Gemini 2.5 try to use our built-in browser tool in the past without it, quote, being supported. And so now I kind of understand that actually it is supported. I wonder, how do you compare your browser use tools to some of the competitors who've been trying to do the same thing, whether or not it's actually worked? Is it cheaper?
It's so I think it's I don't want to without knowing things about their pricing, I don't want to say that ours is cheaper. I will say that ours incorporates multimodality, which is a little bit unique compared to some other options that are on the market. And part of the reason that it can do that is because Gemini is really, really good at defining bounding boxes, not just 2D bounding boxes, but also even things like 3D bounding boxes. So if you were interacting with like a 3-dimensional space, like maybe a 3JS visualization, you could also like manipulate objects, twirl them around, etc. With the computer use API, which is quite nice.
That's definitely not something the other models can do. Can confirm.
Yeah. I also really, really love that sometimes you'll run it into CAPTCHAs. So things that the get proposed because it's like, we've detected unusual activity, like please do the thing so we can know that you're not a bot. But since it can drag, like if you've ever seen the CAPTCHA with the puzzle piece, it can click and drag the puzzle piece to the correct location. It can select all of the bicycles in the image or like whatever it is. So it's able to successfully evade like some of the bot detection things, which is pretty funny.
I love that because, as I understand it, there are a lot of tools out there that allow you to bypass these types of CAPTCHAs. And so when model providers put that as like an arbitrary limit where they won't let you do that, it always really bothered me because I'm like, well, I could just give it a tool to make the model still be allowed to do it.
Exactly.
So I love that you gave us that power.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And we've also been adding another couple of features that might be interesting for y'all to know about as well. I'm gonna go ahead and share just because I think that y'all at Klein are really, really good at sort of figuring out what are kind of unique capabilities and model APIs and being able to incorporate them into the extension itself in really fun ways. So like supporting multimodality and those kinds of use cases. The two features that might be fun to know about are I'm going to select one of the previous models, so it might be a little bit easier to take a look at. And I'm going to scroll down to the right. For any folks who haven't seen this before, this is AI Studio, but we added a feature called URL context. Have you heard of that?
Oh, not yet.
Yeah. So URL context, if you turn it on, You can give the model the ability to slurp in up to 20 different websites, and then to also cite sources from those 20 different websites for its work. So as an example, if I said, if that computer use documentation that we were seeing before, extract out the table from this website, and give an example for when you might want to invoke each action as an additional column. I've never tried this precise query, so we'll see how well it does.
That is fast too.
That is super. Well, it's also using the Flash model, which is
okay, that makes sense.
But it's so it has the command name. So opening the web browser, those things that we just saw. I'll collapse that so it's a little bit easier to see. And then it gives the description, the arguments, the example function call, and then it also gave an example use case. And then it gave a citation at the very end for the source that it used. So if I pasted in 20 different URLs, asked a question, and it only needed 3, it would give inline citations for each one of the statements that was used in the output, and then also which source was used for each one of those statements.
What is the difference for this use case? For example, I love using Notebook LM for summarization and kind of bringing a lot of like different URLs together and documents together. Where do you see the difference between using Notebook LM and AI Studio for URL context?
So AI Studio is really intended to be an explorable interface on all of the different services that the API provides. So as an example, if you can get it running in AI Studio, you can click the Get Code button, and it gives you what you would need in order to replicate it in your project, right? Like, so in Python and TypeScript and Java and Go and like a REST command, whatever you would like. And so you can see, since I invoked URL context, you can see that it had it added to the code snippet is kind of this feature right here. And like, it just makes it really, really easy to understand the capabilities of the API. Whereas if you're using the Gemini app or Notebook LM, they often include a lot of features that are invisible to the user that are done behind the scenes as part of the product experience, that are kind of built on top of the APIs itself. So this is really intended to be for developers, to help you understand how you could use Gemini as part of your projects and how you could kind of experiment with some of these things like function calling or grounding with Google search or structured outputs, but give you a fast path towards understanding the model capabilities and limitations, but also getting it into your projects.
This is very cool. I have two related questions. So a lot of our customers are pretty large enterprise customers, and so they will primarily be accessing this through Vertex. Is that actually still supported the same way?
Still supported. Like behind the scenes, we're all like even now, when you click this Get Code button, you'll see that we have something called the GenAI SDK. We now have one single Python SDK, one single TypeScript SDK that supports both the Gemini APIs in AI Studio and also the Vertex AI Gemini APIs. So same features in both.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, and then there's also another thing called the File Search API, which I think that y'all will really like as well. It's basically like vector database without you having to set it up yourself. So effectively like RAG for free. And you give it kind of a list of files that you'd like to upload. So like they can be CSV files, XML, they can be like URLs that you want the model to incorporate, whatever it is. And then you can use that and invoke it within your Gemini API calls without having to set up a dedicated vector database. It just incorporates it in for you and does all of the chunking and does it in the most intelligent way that it can. with a maximum size per document of like 100 megabytes.
Yeah, I can see that being very helpful for internal documentation. So I think retrieval augmented generation might not work well for code, but it does work for human language pretty well.
Definitely,
That's been my
definitely.
experience.
Definitely is. And then it's also the list of supported kind of application types. It's everything from like Microsoft Word documents and Excel files to Jupyter notebooks, LaTeX, like different kinds of text files or zipped files.
Wow, that's a lot of support.
Yeah.
We actually have a comment here in chat saying that Noob Sky says that he just scrapped like the first list of protein Taobao and it did the captcha for him.
Oh, cool.
So people are already kind of noticing it as well as they go. And just some great like mentions of people saying like, yeah, people loving like Klein with MCPs and using like Gemini on Klein.
Yeah.
So my top MCP server right now is Firecrawl because it allows me to scrape a URL, and their approach is to turn that URL into a markdown file, which doesn't have all of the HTML associated with the web page. When you're scraping, when you're using that URL scraping functionality, does that put the whole DOM in, or is it actually like narrowing it down, or kind of what's the secret sauce? How many tokens am I going to use with that?
I think it would depend on the website, but like I don't want to tell you something inaccurate. So let's go ahead and look at the API documentation.
That sounds like a tool I would use all the time and should totally be built into Klein.
Yeah, I would love to have that. And I also know, like, as an example, it's able to read in PDF documents. So if you give it a URL reference to a PDF, it can pull in the entire PDF itself, including understanding some of the embedded images.
Wow.
So I don't think it's just the text and markdown content. It's all of the kinds of the things that you might need.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I know we're reaching the half an hour, and I know we all promised demos.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So I want to make sure that we cover our bases and cover our promises.
And I also wanted to just like show some of my favorite examples of Gemini 3 and Nano Banana 2. If that's okay. Like these are So these are a few things that have been percolating around Twitter. So this is an example of a one-shotted 3JS lizard. So being able to ask to generate and then to use the keyboard keys to navigate. This is also a really nice one, an SVG with a Pokemon battle that you can have Gemini 3 create. Demis created this one that was effectively like a simulation of a theme park, and this was all done in AI Studio. So you can kind of create the experiences, have the different people walk around in the scene. This one is a 3-dimensional example of a nuclear power plant. So it goes through and it shows everything from the turbine to like steam generation and the cooling tower. This is a Lego builder. So being able to one-shot a 3-dimensional brick builder.
Now I don't even need to play with Legos in real life. I can do it using Gemini.
Yeah. And then this was Gemini app. So an image to voxel art, a bunch of Sims games. This is Nano Banana Pro, showing the different Sims games for that you might have for real life scenarios. This is the design feature that was just baked into Replit for the different UI designs that are powered by Gemini, and how they look a lot more sleek than previously. So it doesn't necessarily look like AI slop, which I feel like was a challenge with the Gemini 2.5 Pro. This one is Nano Banana generated, though it doesn't look like it at all. Like the with the whiteboard markers and a reflection in the whiteboard.
It's kind of insane, actually.
Yeah.
And to think that, like a year ago, even maybe a little bit longer at this point, we were talking about people having 5 or 6 extra fingers on their hands or less than the right number.
This is true. This is one that I did for it's a scene from the Hearst Castle, which is in southern or a little bit south of us, and turning it into a Sims scene from the Sims Deluxe Edition. And then this is turning Leslie Lamport's Paxos Made Simple paper into an just like a visualization showing the paper. But I think the coolest thing is I'm not sure. Have y'all seen Build? Most of the demos that I showed were implemented in Build, which is
I'd love to check it out.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. And then I also think that it's important to talk about the limitations of it.
Yeah.
And how you would interact with Build, followed by kind of porting to a repo on GitHub and then working in your favorite IDE or your favorite local development environment. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to try to do something that is sufficiently complex that I want Gemini to get it wrong first shot, and then I want to see it try to fix itself. So we're gonna see how well it does. But I'm going to say something like create an app that uses Gemini Live to have kind of like a video chat conversation with the user. The purpose of the app should be taking in video footage, and then as it has the conversation with the user, pricing out all of the user's possessions. So it could be used for kind of like insurance purposes. So if the user shows it like a television or like a chair or something, it would assess the quality of the item, the style of the item, and the prices of the item. And it should invoke Google search grounding to help justify the estimated prices. It should put all of the items that it catalogs into like a table format at the end, and then summarize it for the user with statistics after the video call ends. And the app should be really, really well designed.
That is quite a prompt. Yeah.
So we're going to see if that works. And that was just kind of like spitballing. And again, like I'm going to see how well it does out of the box. I think, this is sufficiently complex that it'll probably fail in some interesting ways, which I'm looking forward to. But it's thinking through kind of the architecture of this experience. Since this is baked into the AI Studio interface, it's using all of the latest features and the latest models from our generative AI SDK. So it knows what models exist, it knows what features exist, what tools to call, how to call them. It's going to create a React app because I didn't specify an app to build, but it also supports Angular. So if people like Angular, they can use that. And then it also should start writing the first iteration of the code. Something to call out, this doesn't have backend support right now. So it doesn't have databases, doesn't have support for MCP servers, doesn't have kind of like the ability to incorporate agents. So all of those things that are part of Klein or tools like Klein are really, really sort of kind of the next steps that you would need to make this app production grade. And then you can also see as it picks the different models that it should incorporate into this thing that I'm talking about building. It also creates the prompts for the models. So I don't have to worry about creating the prompts myself because I am clearly bad at prompting. Like that was just kind of like a natural free-flowing conversation. It's putting all of the files that it generates into this nice kind of directory that you can see referenced here in the center. You can also see a save to GitHub button here in the upper right. So save to a public or a private repo. You can also download the files and work with them locally if you wanted to. And it's right now, whenever I use it, it's using the API key that I have access to in AI Studio. So you would probably need to generate an API key and define it as part of like your environment variables if you were doing like. So let's see. So it did something. Let's see how well it did. So camera, microphone, allow. Start. I'm gonna like collapse this a little bit so it's easier to see. Hi there. Can y'all hear that?
No, we cannot.
Oh no. So it's definitely talking.
Okay.
So it's definitely talking. Let me see if let me see really quickly. So I think what the problem is that I'm not sharing a tab. I'm sharing the entire window. So what I allow share system audio. Let's see if that works.
I really liked how when it was doing its thinking process, it nicely organized it as Markdown, where you could really easily see what it was thinking.
Excellent. So I'm gonna try it again and tell me if you can hear. Hey there, how are you doing?
Not yet.
Not unfortunately. Oh, you know
It's
what?
alive.
Give me one sec. It's on my side. Okay, let's try it again. Sorry, it wasn't my side.
Oh, okay, cool. So let me try a new session. I'm going to.
People here saying they were able to hear. It's like, stop gaslighting us.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I'm here to help you with your home inventory. Just start showing me the items you'd like to appraise. What's the first thing you want to show me?
Yeah, so how about that chair?
That looks like a modern black upholstered chair with metal legs. It appears to be in good condition. Based on its style and condition, I'd estimate its value to be around $200. I've added that to your inventory. What's the next item you'd like me to appraise?
How about this recycling bin?
That's a blue plastic recycling bin. It appears to be in good condition. The value of a bin like this is typically around $10. I've added that to your inventory. What else would you like to appraise?
What about that television?
I see a television. Can you tell me the brand and screen size if possible? Also, what condition does it appear to be in?
You should tell me about the condition, and I think it's like a Samsung 3 feet by 2 feet.
Okay, based on the size and seeing that it's a Samsung and assuming it's in good condition, I'd estimate its value to be around $300. I've added that to your inventory. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
What about this?
I see another blue plastic recycling bin. Similar to the last one, I'd estimate its value to be around $10, assuming it's...
No. What about this thing that I'm showing to you right now?
My apologies. I seem to have missed the item you're showing me. Could you please show it to me again? I'll do my best to identify it.
Yeah, I've got a cup that I'm holding up in front of you.
Ah, I see a cup now. It looks like a plain white ceramic coffee mug. Assuming it's in good condition, I estimate its value to be around $5. I've added that to your inventory. What else would you like to appraise? What else do you have for me?
No, I think that you should try to. Do you see the screen right now?
Yes, I see a screen now. It looks like a large flat screen monitor, possibly a television or display for video conferencing. It appears to be in good condition.
I think
Could you tell me the brand and approximate size?
it's like lagging in terms of the frames that it sees, because there
Okay.
is a white coffee mug on the table back there, and there is a television.
That makes sense.
But I don't know if it's so we're gonna Gemini, could you ask me those same questions that you just asked me, but ask me in German, please?
Gerne. Welche Marke und ungefähre Größe hat der Monitor? Und in welchem Zustand scheint er zu sein?
How about you ask me again, but ask me in Hindi?
नमस्ते, ये मॉनिटर किस ब्रांड का है और इसका लगभग आकार क्या है? और ये किस स्थिति में लग रहा है?
Actually, I think we should end the appraisal right now.
ठीक है, हम मूल्यांकन यहीं समाप्त करते हैं। क्या आप चाहेंगे कि मैं अब इस सूची को सहेज दूं?
No.
आपकी इच्छा अनुसार, क्या आप कुछ और करना चाहेंगे या आज के लिए इतना काफी है?
I'm going to end the appraisal. So we'll see. Interesting. So, and then there's some sort of like list. It's got the different values of things. You can export it as a PDF. And then what's cool too is if I don't like any of the things that it's described, so the Samsung television or the blue plastic chair, I can also ask for these things to be changed. I can click deploy app, select client. It verifies the project. And then if I deploy it, it gives me a unique URL. So it's deploying via Cloud Run, which means that it sets up logging, it sets up storage, it hides all of the API keys. So like if I click this guy, it should take me to the Gemini Live Appraiser. I can add that into the chat too, so that y'all can see it. And then you can also open it on Google Cloud and see the logs associated, the deployment. You can connect it to a repo, and then you can use kind of keep the deployment up to date as people interact with it as well. So that's the AI Studio build feature. Again, no database support, no MCP server support, but you can save to GitHub. You can download code files locally, and then once you do, you can interact with them in something like Klein. So if I wanted to share my VS Code instance,
I got it here. Yeah.
Yep, this is just a project that I was playing around with a little bit earlier. But you can also in Klein add kind of like your code completion instructions. So this is something that we have within the AI Studio Gen AI SDKs. We have one implementation in Python, one implementation in TypeScript, but it basically is just a suite of rules that walks through best practices for using our generative AI SDK. So if you're just relying on the model's recommendations itself, it's usually limited by its training data cutoff. So it knows about models that existed in its pre-training and post-training data. It doesn't know about models that might be more contemporary than that. And so this suite of rules, similar to other like rules files that you might incorporate into something like Claude Code or other things like the Gemini CLI, just gives best practices on how to use the models themselves. And
cool.
So, yeah. And
is this like a workflow to upgrade it to use the correct version of the SDK?
You could definitely do that. And if you're wanting to get access, to this yourself, let me pull up the code gen instructions for the Gen AI SDK.
I like our goal was to produce an app so complicated that Gemini would need to debug it, and instead it worked perfectly on the first try.
But it wasn't super perfect, right? Like there was some sort of delay in the video, but it was at least able to do the Gemini Live component, which I quite liked, with the speech to text, the LLM understanding, and the text to speech. And it could do different languages. Like
it's a live demo. If it worked perfectly, it wouldn't be live. People would know it was fake.
This is true, but this is the kind of code completion or code gen markdown file that's part of the Gen AI SDK. I don't think it's been updated yet to Gemini 3 Pro, just because we're still in kind of learning mode for how people are thinking about using Gemini 3 Pro. And then it gives kind of recommendations for how to incorporate the models themselves. So if you ever want to kind of upgrade your app from an older version of Gemini to a newer version, this is a great thing to use to kind of ground the model's outputs for that.
Mm-hmm. Have you used it like with Climb before, and kind of like how has it worked?
Basically, you put it in, if you put it into your context, just say something like, hey, here are a bunch of rules that I want you to use to write the following code, then it does a pretty good job of following those instructions. You could also just put it in as kind of preferences for the way in which you want your code to be written. So similar to any other rules that you might want to incorporate.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried? We have our toggleable Klein rules in the bottom. And this would be a really good use case of putting that into those toggleable rules. That way, whenever you're using a Gemini model, which I'm almost always am, I can turn on my Gemini specific rules. And similarly, if I'm working on the AI SDK for Google, I would have a specific set of rules that I'd probably turn on just for those tasks.
I absolutely love that. I have used, I know that for the Gemini models, you've also enabled, the ability to turn on and turn off thinking, and then to also configure the number of tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Something to be mindful for the Gemini 3 Pro implementation. You no longer have to kind of configure the specific number of tokens. There's a higher or a low feature, and you can just flag that, as opposed to trying to like thumbprint estimate how many tokens a particular task might require.
I think what really caught us off guard is how important thinking is for that model. We saw much worse performance without thinking before your team kind of subtly told us that we need to incorporate thinking as a requirement. So I guess I'd be curious, how did that come about? I know we're running on time, but I'd be very curious how that thinking requirement came about and how that improves the models.
Well, it's like, so if we look back on the app that just got created, right? Like, and look here. So all of our Pro series has thinking on by default. And it really, really helps in terms of just having a scratch pad for deciding, like, all right, if I'm going to architect out this experiment, here are the different component parts that I would need. All right, now I need to think about how they're stitched together. All right, now I need to, so I want to incorporate Google search into price justification. I'm considering a hybrid approach. I'll call Google search after the live stream for validation. These sorts of things. Whereas if you just kind of like a human, right? If you give a human the request of like, hey, build an app, and then they just go right into it without kind of whiteboarding out the system or kind of thinking through all of the implications, the person's going to do a much worse job than if they actually take in the requirements, they build the design, and then they start implementing. So that's the kind of idea behind this thinking section, is that the model really does need room to have a scratch pad and a whiteboard to architect out its ideas before implementing.
Mm-hmm. I wonder with all of the things that have come up, and especially like as Daniel mentioned, because like some things that we discover as we utilize like the tool, what are some of those pieces of or features from like Gemini or Nano Banana that you think that developers are not super aware of, but would be very valuable or useful for them to explore even deeper?
Yeah, so we talked about the file search API, we talked about URL grounding, we talked about Gemini Live, which is like single API call, but it stitches together speech to text, LLM understanding, and text to speech into one API call, so you don't have to fiddle with all of it. And it supports over 140 different languages. One thing that I think is quite nice about the Nano Banana model, let me go back to the playground, then turn on Nano Banana really quick. I'll add an API key, and then also make this a little bit higher resolution. You can also now turn on grounding with Google search for Nano Banana stuff. So I could say something like, create an infographic that shows me all of the places that I can go skiing along the Amtrak train lines in the United States, and then send that in. I'll make this.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Well, you haven't seen the output yet, so like maybe it's cool, maybe it's not. But it's
I mean, it's Gemini. It's always going to be cool.
But like being able to incorporate some of the Google search grounding techniques is pretty nifty. And also the thinking traces, since this is based on the Gemini 2.5 Pro model, you get the thinking traces. Out of the box as well. And so I'm going to collapse the thinking. It looks like it's beginning to scratch pad again as part of this thinking process, a couple of basic ideas about what it thinks the output should look like. So it created the first draft, it analyzed it, and then it wanted to perfect it. And then if I zoom in a little bit, you can see like San Francisco, Truckee, Salt Lake City, Utah, Winter Park, Denver, Whitefish, which is Whitefish, Montana. So it looks like it got that right. And then I guess it's just like the different train stops along the way. But it got Whitefish in multiple places. So that's an artifact. The Empire Builder.
It's really impressive that now it does very well with text, which
Yeah.
was very hard before.
Definitely, yes. The text is very good. It's also like if you look at the underlying map of the United States, like this is actually Texas, right? Like that's actually
true.
Oklahoma. Like that's actually Louisiana. And so and that's actually like like Illinois and Chicago. So I think that like it is bonkers that it can get text so correct. It is bonkers that it's really pretty good at maps. And then
the maps is crazy.
Yeah, and then I think it's also quite nice that when you do turn on the search grounding, it gives you the cited sources for what it's using to justify the thing that it just made. So I think that's something that is underloved for the Nano Banana model. And then you can also select the different aspect ratios. So if you wanted to incorporate that into your outputs, you could.
So if you're posting on Instagram, you can go to 1:1 because Instagram forces a 1:1.
Yes, or if you want to have more of like a TikTok friendly aspect ratio or like mobile friendly, you could go 9:16.
Great.
So fun fact, we actually have a billboard now. I'm not actually sure where it is, somewhere in the Bay Area, and we made the initial concepts, and I actually think the final result with Nano Banana.
Oh, that's so cool!
I can share the images. I have them here.
Yes,
So we spent quite a lot of time generating a bunch of concepts, some of which are maybe not quite appropriate to share, and we ended up with this final result, which I think looks quite good and is like a real billboard.
Amazing.
I actually don't know if that's the real billboard or the Nano Banana version. 'cause
I love it. It's very cute, but it is a little bit spicy in terms of the content, but it's very cute. I love it.
So
Perfect.
I really like when I'm able to use a model like Nano Banana to produce marketing content. And up until very recently, the text not working made that very difficult. And you definitely have the best option for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Some last things for everyone watching the stream. I've been sharing these. We're raffling some client credits. So if you want to get some free credits, just fill the form. Let us know. We're going to be doing this after the stream because we just don't have enough time to do it live. But it would have been a great and fun experiment to do, like, Gemini build a raffle thing for us live on the stream. But in the meantime, like, definitely, like, super excited. Like, I've been abusing Gemini for the past like few days and had like a great experience. The thing that really caught like my attention was, especially for like gaming, it kind of like goes directly into doing 3D assets instead of 2D assets, and the quality compared to like 2.5 is just incredible.
Yeah, strong agree. And I really do like the designs for the websites as well. Like the designs for the games, the designs for the website, they're so much better than some of the AI slop that was being generated a while ago.
Mhm.
And it's I can't even imagine what it'll look like a year from now.
Yeah, a year ago I was manually coding by hand, and now I have Gemini writing pretty complex tree sitter code for me. And in a side by side, it was cheaper and it worked at like 300K context windows, no problem, which is something our agentic coding challenges always really enjoy. So I'm just very excited about that.
Awesome. Very cool.
Well, then I think that's the end for this live stream. Thank you so much, Paige, for joining us. Daniel, it's always great to see you. And for everyone, thanks for joining. It's been great to explore a little more of like what you all have been working on and getting to learn more of the multiple settings that we need to still play around to make sure that we're using the most out of the tools. Thanks to everyone joining. I know there's like a few folks here that have been just surprised about everything that is happening here. Thank you for spending this last hour with us. And yeah, we'll see you again hopefully next week. But Paige, have a great AI engineering conference. Hopefully you can spend some time there as well. And see you all soon.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This has been really interesting.
Yeah. Thank you all. Have a good weekend.